Wakanda forever. Good morning, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes. This is your FC3 Monkey Business, your one-stop shop for everything geeky. As always, your hosts, I myself am Chris, Billy DeTore, Dan Carmen, and Tanya Metris. And we're going to be having a special guest on board today. As a matter of fact, we have two. Billy's not able to join us today, but in his place, we have the irrepressible Anne. Anne Liebig is on board. Hello, Anne.
Good morning. Hello.
And we have our special guest today. We haven't done an interview in a long time, so I'm really kind of stoked for this. We have Sam Maggs, the author of, let me get this in front of me because this is just really, as I was saying before we started recording, the list of things is very impressive. She's a best-selling author of books, comics, and video games. She has been a senior games writer, including work on Marvel's Spider-Man, the author of many young adult and middle grade books like The Unstoppable Wasp, Conquest, Tell No Tales, and The Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy, which our gang did a book club of last week. She's a comic writer for beloved titles like Marvel Action, Captain Marvel, My Little Pony, and Transformers. She's also an on-air host for networks like Nerdist. You are a Canadian in Los Angeles, and you miss coffee crisps and bagged milk. I'm not sure if that's a tagline I would go with, but hey, it works.
Definitely the question that I need to know is, what is bagged milk, other than the fact that it's milk that's probably in a bag?
But yeah, it's as simple
why?
as that. Because that's how they've packed it over the years. My family, I have a whole wing of my family up in Canada to Ottawa and Regina, Saskatchewan are both the cities that they spend most of their time in. And we have the big plastic gallons. They have the big plastic bags, and it works for them.
Is it easier to store, Sam?
First of all, thank you for the introduction. And yeah, it's easier to store because they lie flat, and it's less wasteful because it uses less plastic or cartons. And so they come in big gallon bags. And you have to every household has a plastic milk bag dispenser because you have to put the little jelly bag into like something with a handle so that you can pour it.
Oh,
Right.
It's kind of like the bags that like restaurants would put in their like machines that.
Yeah, like a long kind of tube, basically.
Oh, okay.
I just want to point out real quick that there was a long resume of very cool stuff, and Tanya, you're perseverating about milk bags.
Shut up, Christopher. It was just an interesting thing when I read that. I'm like, really, bagged milk? That's what she misses? But okay.
When the Canadians finally let us back into the country, and I go visiting my cousins, I always make sure I will bring some back so that you may see it. It's a thing. It's a real thing, and it's very cool. And like Sam was saying, it's very efficient and easy to recycle.
To each their own. I'm not judging. Really, I'm not.
No, I can get you milk in a bag.
Morbid curiosity.
Tanya, I can get you milk in a bag. I mean, it's going to be a bag attached to a cow, but it's still considered a bag.
No, I'm good. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Like I said, Sam, before we started recording, we're a little out of practice, so we're kind of bad at this right now.
We're not bad at it.
Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I appreciate your time. And how have you been holding up during all of this craziness?
Oh, I'm grateful to have my health and everything, but it's difficult. As you said, we can't cross the border, so I'm not able to get home and see my family, which is difficult. And, not that I would want to get on a plane anyway at this point.
Right.
Yeah, so it's you try to make the best of it. It's a little difficult to be creative, I think, during this time, but you just gotta hang in there and do your best, I think,
That's a good thought. I mean, that's a good thing to bring up because I've often wondered that, and everybody kind of has a different answer. I'm assuming at first the quarantine and being kind of stuck at home, that kind of gives you the impetus to kind of work on projects and knock a few things out. But was it easy for you at first, and then it kind of got old after a while, or has it always just been kind of consistently? I'm just because everything going on has kind of been like a little little slowdown, like an
I
anchor in the
found it
background.
difficult from the start. I was actually
Hmm.
really frustrated by the sort of narrative that was going on online that was very much like, oh, there's never been a better time to get in shape or write your book or,
Oh yeah,
eat well or whatever. You have no excuses. And it's like, well, my excuse is the exceptional amount of stress from the global pandemic
hmm
and worrying about my parents and my husband not being able to see his family and, we bought a house a month ago and that was stressful during a pandemic and
yeah, I can
just
imagine.
like things that should be simple are much more difficult. And I think that if you manage to get up every day, that's
Hmm.
the success right now. And so no one should feel bad for not being productive enough or not quote unquote like taking advantage of what like it's just being alive right now is pretty challenging. So
Yeah, you know,
yeah.
my grandfather always taught me a simple phrase, which I actually was pleased to see become a meme somewhere along the line. Somebody else had shared that particular same phrase. Your success rate at surviving bad days remains at a solid 100%. So you keep on trucking,
That is exactly right. That is
right?
exactly right. I love that.
And he used to say that to me all the time, especially when I was kind of like down. But he passed away about 6, 7 years ago, and within about a year or so, I started seeing that popping up in other places. I was like, oh, that's a sign.
Hmm.
That's a good sign right there.
Hmm.
So now, what are some of the things you're working on right now? I'd like to talk. I want to get back to all the stuff you have worked on, but I'm just curious to what you're putzing away at right now.
Oh, sure. Well, I just had a couple books come out about a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
The Unstoppable Wasp and Conquest. So I've been doing a lot of promotion for those, which has been
Okay.
really fun. And my next books, I have 3 books out in October. So I'm sort of ramping up to start talking about those, which will
Oh,
be
that's cool.
fun. Hmm.
Can you talk about those projects yet, or is this something that's still
Yeah, no, they're on the shelf in October. There's you mentioned the Fangirls Guide to the Galaxy. We've actually done a second edition of that book now called The Fangirls Guide to the Universe. It's fully
Mm-hmm.
updated for 2020.
Cool.
New art by Kat Good, which was very fun, and then a companion guided journal called The Fangirls Journal for Leveling Up, which is a book that you can fill in yourself about all of your own favorite fandoms and all of that. That comes out at the end of October, both of those. And I also adapted Rainbow Rowell's best-selling YA novel Fangirl, which some of you may have read, into a manga.
Ooh.
So if you want to read Fangirl, but as a comic, a manga, the first volume comes out at the beginning of October. So that was a lot of fun to work on that adaptation as well. I've written lots of comics and graphic novels, but I've never written for a manga, which is a slightly different um, has some slightly different rules.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of fun.
What are some of the rules that manga puts out there that's a little more that's more challenging for you, or different, at least a different take?
I feel like manga, especially shoujo manga, like manga that focuses more on relationships, is largely Western comics are very action focused, largely,
Mm-hmm.
especially the ones that are popular now. Manga is very like this manga in particular is very like person or character focused,
Okay.
emotionally focused. So there's more emphasis on characters' internal thoughts, um, kind of more like a novel in that way than maybe like a blockbuster action film. And
Mm-hmm.
there's you've got usually less or fewer words, a lot more is conveyed through the art. So you have a lot more sound effects, a lot more expressions, um, and you try to get as much across as possible through. I mean, you do this in comics as well, but very
Mm-hmm.
strongly in manga, it relies a lot on like sound effects and thought bubbles, stuff like that. So,
Gotcha.
and you have a little less page space real estate. If you guys ever seen a manga at a bookstore, they come typically kind of in a smaller format.
Yeah.
They tend to be thick, but the pages are
Right.
um, smaller and just like geographic size, basically. So you
Less
can
real
fit
estate, I
fewer
think, is the
panels.
term.
Yeah, maybe like a
Yeah.
Western comic would have, you could have like 7 or plus panels on a page, whereas a manga, we try to keep it less than that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and these are not hard and fast rules, of course. This is for the one that I was writing, but yeah, it was. It's always interesting to learn. I like to work in lots of different mediums.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks it. I mean, I'm seeing books, comic books, manga. I'm seeing, video games because you were working with BioWare or still working for BioWare.
Yeah, I worked with them for 2 years on a game called Anthem,
Mm-hmm.
which was very fun to work on. And then I worked at Insomniac Games for about a year and a half on Spider-Man and the new Ratchet and Clank game that is not out yet,
Mm-hmm.
but has been announced. And now I'm freelancing, so I'm working for 5 or 6 different places on games now at the same time, which is really great to be able to sort of bounce around between projects. I like that.
Because it helps keep the creative juices flowing. Because
Yeah,
you get
I
to step back
totally
from one
agree.
project.
Absolutely. And that's the nice thing about working in different mediums as well, is that even though it's all writing, it feels different because writing for a video game is very, very different than writing for a comic book is very, very different than writing for a nonfiction book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it keeps it fresh.
That's good. That's good. Now, how long have you been, quote unquote, in the business?
Probably since about 2014, I started writing online for digital outlets like the Mary Sue, which it was still is a site, a sort of geek news site online, but from
Mm-hmm.
like a feminist perspective. So I started out by writing for different outlets and lots of Canadian outlets like national newspapers and stuff because I'm Canadian, as we have established. So I started writing online in 2014, and then at that time I also sold The Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy, and was working on that, and that came out in 2015, and that was kind of my first, um, that was my first published work, I guess, officially. So since late 2014, early 2015, so about 5 years now, which is
And look
wild.
and look how far you've come already. That's amazing. Well, all
Oh,
the
thank you
credits on
so
your
much.
belt. That is fantastic. Now, I know, like I mentioned in the introduction, the ladies of the family here, Anne and Tanya, they have their book club, um, which they've been doing online through Zoom. And the second item that I mean, it's a new project for them at the moment. The second project they did, or the second title they did, was the Fangirl's Guide to the
Oh,
Galaxy.
thank you so much.
Oh
You
my
know,
god. I had gotten about 62% of the way through it because I was reading it on my Kindle. And by the time we had book club, and then I was perusing through the rest of it, and I just love the fact that it breaks everything down in some simpler terms that helps just people to understand it. It doesn't even necessarily have to be for the fangirl. I mean,
Yeah,
because
yeah. Thank
in
you so much.
and because we had one of our longtime con goers that follow us, he was on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I love the book, and this, that, and the other thing." And I'm like, it reminded me a lot of those like how-to guides, like that how-to that you see for like C++ for dummies or whatever, things like this. But it was a much more colorful, enjoyable, not necessarily techie type thing that you could just really get into it and understand it
Oh,
type
thank you so
thing.
much. And that was,
So
yeah, there's like a disclaimer early in the book too that you don't have to be a girl to enjoy the book, of course. But even though, I wrote it basically for myself when I was 15. It was like the book that I wish I had had when I was 15.
oh, really?
Um, Yeah, because I was a big nerd growing up and I never felt like I could tell anyone about it because I thought nobody else was really like me or that they'd
Hmm.
be made fun of. And, it wasn't until I had graduated college and had moved to like the big city and had a little more self confidence that I was like, oh, I think I might be able to find people who are, into the same stuff that I am. And of course, it's a different world now with
Yeah.
more social media and everything and access to that kind of stuff earlier. But just felt like something that it felt odd that there had never been a book about girl geeks, like for girl geeks before, kind of. So, yeah, and my favorite thing about Fangirl's Guide is that, the first 3 quarters of the book are firmly about geek culture,
Hmm.
but the last quarter of the book is a basic bare bones introduction to what feminism is, because I think being a good critical minded fan, part of that is knowing about intersectionality and inclusivity and diversity and all
Right.
that stuff. But I didn't really, I mean, today's teens are much more woke than we ever were because of the internet. But,
True.
I didn't know what any of that stuff meant until I took a class on it in college. So I wanted to sort of put it out there in a way that was understandable and easy to digest and might get folks interested in looking into that a little bit more too, into all the parts of the book. So yeah, thank you. That's really kind of you to say.
One of the girls that did the book with us, her name's Chloe. She's one of my Girl Scouts because I have 26 Girl Scout troops. So I wanted her to read this because every day this summer she dressed as a different manga or anime character.
That's so great.
Even through Zooming and classroom and everything. And
Oh my
her
gosh,
mom
that's
has
so
had,
great.
yeah, and her mom has just had a really hard time understanding this. So I said, read this, and she joined us for book club. Well, then her mom actually called me that night to tell me
That
how
she was going to read
awesome
it.
this was. Yeah, she's
Oh,
going to
that's
read it
so
because it
great.
helps her understand her daughter more.
That's
So
awesome.
we use a lot of your books in our Girl Scout troops. Like we have one of the older girl badges. It's just actually a journey where you have to do a bunch of badges to get to this journey, and it's called the Sisterhood. So
Love that.
we read Girl Squads and then
Oh,
Wonder Women so that we can understand the history of the women as we're working on becoming a sister to all who are with us.
Oh, thank you so much. That's like so cool for me to hear. I loved working on those books. I loved being able to share those stories that I feel like should be better known but have sort of disappeared from our textbooks or were never included in the textbooks in the first place. That's really cool. Thanks. That's really nice. I love that. I'm so glad you like them.
We
Oh,
believe in we believe in learning everything we possibly can, and giving credit where credit is due. I mean, it's our
Totally.
small contribution to the Geekverse.
Totally.
And you touched on something, and I can relate to it, which is great because your book is the same way. It's something that it's relatable for everybody. When I was first in college, when I was 18, 19 years old, and I started playing Dungeons and Dragons for the first time, we did it quietly in our room, with the door closed so that nobody would
Yes.
bother us because there's the judgmental thing. Now here I am. The day that this podcast is being released is my 50th birthday.
Yes.
And
That's
D&D is
amazing.
now mainstream and everybody's
Yeah.
talking about it, and it's on the bestseller list of family games, and it's like, you got to be kidding me.
And happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And it's just so awesome to see that evolution, and now here we are, we're in a period of time where like you were saying, that the current generation is a lot more aware. Woke
Mhm.
is the term. I feel silly using words that I don't quite understand because I still have that moment where I'm looking back a couple generations going, damn, those kids are talking in a way that I don't. That's a slang. I don't get it yet, but I'm going to try, and then I'll say something, and my kids will look at me and go, "No, Dad, don't do that. Don't, no, Dad, don't say that." But this generation is more aware, and they are more sensitive to the ebb and flow of society, and they're coming up against the barrier of the generations that are older than us.
Mhm.
And there's a class war going on right now, and so to have these resources, to have this positivity there to help support them and educate them and teach them and give them just a little sense of comfort, really.
Yeah.
It's great to have that. And so if I heard you correctly, you wrote Geek Guides, the Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy, when you were 15.
No, I wrote it when I was in my I was 25,
Okay.
but I wrote it, it's the book that I wish that I had had when I was
Which you
15,
okay? I
essentially. Yeah. Mhm.
or you started writing. I have this one book that I've been writing since I was 20, and like I said, I'm going to be turning 50. So it's like there's this story in my head, and so I can kind of relate a little bit to that, and so you put this book together and it published, and it's out there now, and people are doing book clubs about it and discussing it, and that's fantastic, and I'm so happy for you. That's awesome. What is to date? What is your favorite the favorite project you've worked on so far?
Oh, it's such a tough question.
I know. That's why I ask it.
I think it's probably the Marvel Action Captain Marvel ongoing comic that I write for IDW.
Okay.
Captain Marvel has always been my favorite Marvel character, even back when she was Ms. Marvel with the black boots and
Mm-hmm.
everything before her costume and name update. I huge Carol fan, love everything that she stands for. So when I had the opportunity to pitch on that, I was very, very nervous, and then very excited when I got the gig. And being able to continue to tell stories with Carol has been like a great honor of my career, and
That's
just
awesome.
such a blast. Yeah, I still can't really believe that I get to do that. So that's up there for me for sure.
So it's a true definition of the old aphorism: if you do what you love, then you never work a day in your life.
I actually don't really like that, I'll be
Okay.
honest with you, because I think it devalues creative work in
Okay.
a way that makes it really easy for people to ask creators to work for free or to work for exposure, or doesn't take into account the fact that doing like this work that I get to do is super fun. I feel
Hmm.
very fortunate, but it's also still really hard work. In creative work is still hard work. I mean,
Right.
obviously not like day labor, but like
Right.
it,
Right.
it
Right.
is
Right.
still challenging and difficult. And I went through a lot of years of training to be able to get to where I am and
Uh-huh.
practice and everything. And so when people say, oh, it's not work. No, it definitely is work. And I still get to the point, like I just took a vacation because I got to the point of burnout.
Oh boy.
People still burn out. People still need to be compensated fairly for the work that they do. It's definitely a problem in industries like video games. You see this a lot where people use that reasoning to exploit workers, where they say, well, you're lucky to be doing this. You should be grateful to be doing this. So we're going to pay you less than
Hmm.
you would make in technology, or we're going to pay you less than you would make in another industry. And that's really not fair.
No,
So I
absolutely.
I understand and appreciate the sentiment, but I am not behind
Hey,
that.
and that's valid, and I appreciate you sharing those thoughts, because that's, as I was just mentioning a moment ago, we like to learn here.
Yeah, for sure, for
And
sure.
sometimes and that's something that's a lesson we've been learning a lot of the past year, where simple phrases are being looked at from different angles, and we're trying to appreciate a new way of thinking and a new way of. So I definitely, hey, I do not feel put in my place at all. That was cool, and I
Okay.
appreciate you
Well,
sharing.
it's true, and it's because, it's not obviously that you don't mean anything bad by that at
Right.
all, and it's like it's a true thing what you say. Like I am really lucky to get to do what I
Hmm.
do. Lots of people would love to do this, and I fully recognize that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it is interesting to look at idioms or like phrases or words that we use all the time. I mean, it's why I love writing and why I studied English and did a master's in English so much, because thinking about this stuff is fascinating to me. So.
Hmm. Oh, you're talking to. There's a pair of English majors also with you on this panel today. Tanya and I are both
There you go.
have bachelors in English as well. I'm a building inspector for the city, and she's a math teacher. So we didn't really kind of follow through on that, but at heart, the dichotomy of words and how you can kind of come at it from different angles. The study of words is definitely a thing that's still strong
Totally.
for both of us. I do want to circle back around real quick, and I love the fact that you said Carol Danvers is one of your favorite Marvel characters, because she's one of mine too. So
Oh, yes.
we relate there. I did not pay attention to her as much as I should have when she was in her original costume. Right, I
Mm-hmm.
really became a big fan of hers with recent work.
No, that's
Um,
great.
and I just loved the attitude, and I loved the sassiness, and I loved when it came down to getting to business, that was it. It was, punto y fin, here we go. It's go time.
Yes.
But she also had that compassion she knew she had this ultimate power, but she also knew how to be gentle and how to be caring, and as well as being completely badass. And I just thought this character was so well developed. She wasn't just some hot blonde. There was guts to her, and you could appreciate and respect it. And that's why I loved her so
Totally. And
much.
she's sassy and she's funny, but
Hmm.
she's tough and she's a big dork, which I
Yes.
love. And
Yes. And
totally.
the Star Wars references aplenty
Yes.
throughout, you know. I mean, her cat's name is
Exactly.
Chewie, for God's sake. So, or excuse me, her
Exactly.
Flurkin's name is Chewie.
That's better.
It
Yes,
quite.
Flurkin.
It's a Flurkin.
It's a flirkin. There's a lot of flirkins that come through, at least during comic chicks.
Right.
Yes.
Because I live in a house of cats.
Yes, you do.
And one looks like Goose. So
There you
Both of
go.
them actually do, but yeah. So when you're writing your books, like you talk a lot about mental health being a thing. Like, so I got one of the emails kicked back to me that said you were taking a mental health break. And that
Yes.
touched me so much. So I have been working at home every single day since March. I haven't taken a single day off. And even when I took a day off, I still have to work because I provide PPE to telecommunication industry. So
That's amazing.
I have been just working nonstop. And I got that email back from you saying that you were taking a mental health day. And I'm not kidding you. I actually copied part of your email and sent it to my boss and said, I need some time. And I actually took 2 days off.
That's
And I'm taking
amazing.
2
Oh,
more
that's
days
so
off next
good for
week just
you.
so that I can have some mental health time, because I believe we're getting so burnt out as as a society.
Yeah.
And you write so much about and advocate so much about mental health. Can you talk to me about why the Unstoppable Wasp was so important to you? I'm reading it now and I can't put it down at night.
Oh, thanks. Oh my gosh. Yes, first of all, I'm very happy for you. It's great to take rest time. You can serve other people better when you're serving yourself as well. So that's great. I've always suffered from anxiety and depression, and as I get older and I start to realize what it means, I think I probably have some form of ADHD as well, in a way. So I think there's a lot of like mental health stuff going on with me, and almost everyone I know suffers from some type of mental health issue, whether it be burnout or anxiety is very, very common, especially these days. A lot of my friends suffer from depression. And I think it's something that we don't see people talk. Well, we see it more and more, which is amazing. But when I was growing up, you certainly never saw people talk about this stuff except for in like a derisive way. And yeah, I work a lot. I'm a workaholic. I love to work. As we've established, I love my job. I feel very, very lucky to do what I do. But I work at the expense of almost everything else in my life. And the last 6 months have just been a lot. I got a puppy in January, which was great. And then we bought a house. And
Yay!
the
Puppy.
global pandemic is going on. And I'm scared my parents in another country are going to die. And it's just like, I released 2 books. Like a lot happened in the last 6 months. And I got to the point where I was like, I just wasn't being effective at my job anymore. Like I was missing panels. I was not responding to emails. My creativity was like just not, as we established, like really hard to be creative during the pandemic. Like it just wasn't there. And I was like, I think I need some time. But it was, please don't feel bad for finding it difficult to take time off. Like even I was like, oh, I'll take a week. And it was my husband who was like, tell your agent you're taking 2 weeks off. And I told my agent, she was like, you absolutely should do that. Like send everyone to me and I'll body block them. And like, it was good to have a support system that was like, you should do that. But it is really important, I think, to talk about the effect that, we are made to work all the time. One minimum wage job is not enough to survive in this
Right.
country anymore. We're all taking on way more responsibility than we should, especially teens who are expected to go to school all day and have extracurriculars in the morning and in the evening, and then also do charity work, and then also keep their grades up and do homework. And like,
Absolutely.
we expect so much from everyone all the time now. And so in the Unstoppable Wasp, that character who I inherited from Jeremy Whitley's comics, which are really lovely. And if you haven't had the chance to read them, I highly recommend it. But Nadia Van Dyne, the main character, has bipolar disorder, just like her father, Hank Pym,
Okay.
who you might know from the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah, vaguely aware of that name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the dad in those movies. And so
Okay.
he also had bipolar disorder. But it was undiagnosed and untreated. And so he went through a lot of difficulty in his life, and so did his immediate family members. Hank Pym very famously beat his wife, Janet Van Dyne, in the comics and everything. So, an untreated mental illness can be very challenging for those who have it and for people who love them.
That was an incredibly daring storyline.
Completely. So when Nadia started to Nadia is also a workaholic. She works all the time at the expense of everything. And it became clear that she was having manic and then depressive episodes. And that was affecting her and her support system negatively, where she was like lashing out at the people she loved when she was in manic episodes and even hurting people that she loved, even though she didn't mean to. So all of that went down in the comics. So I inherited this, and it was important to me to continue that story. I didn't want to ignore Nadia's bipolar disorder when writing a novel from her perspective, obviously. So we talk about it. I mean, the book is not about her having bipolar disorder, which I like. Bipolar disorder is just one of the many things that make up Nadia. She's also a perfectionist and an optimist and a superhero, and she can't drive and has bipolar. It's just one of the many things, just like I am many things as well as anxious. And
Are you seeing a little bit of yourself in Nadia? Is that what you're saying at the moment, or?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It was important, I think, to show Nadia taking medication and going to therapy. I think we should all have access to therapy. I think we'd all be better people. I think superheroes especially should go to therapy because they see some stuff.
Yeah, they do.
So, I really want to normalize that. And the story for Nadia in particular did come, for the novel, come from a very personal place of... Nadia wants to do everything and be perfect at everything and be everything to everyone at all times. She wants to be a great lab leader, and she wants to be a great friend, and she wants to be a great stepdaughter, and she wants to be a great driver, and she wants to be a great superhero, and she wants to be all of these things. But, it's impossible to be perfect and do everything all the time as much as we might want to. And so, yeah, the book very much does stem from a point of like Nadia reaches burnout and then she pushes beyond that. And there are consequences to that. So, yeah, it's very much in line with kind of what we're talking about in regards to burnout and everything.
And it's great that you embrace that, because I have seen several titles. I mean, I'm not the diehard comic book collector, but I've been involved enough over the years to appreciate how a certain writer will bring a certain personality trait into a character and address tough issues, or bring up a really kind of a cool possible plot line, and then that writer steps down and another writer takes over, and there's almost a completely reboot of the character. And the character goes in a different direction, and things get dropped or things get glossed over or changed. And so to hear that you're acknowledging not only what your predecessor did, but now you're taking it and embracing it and moving it forward, I think that's fantastic. That's just
thanks.
That's just a wonderful thing to have for that character.
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of like one of the biggest strengths and the biggest weaknesses of comics, I think, is the creator turnover, where you get the opportunity to do all these new things and tell stories from new perspectives, which is really important. But also, like, you do lose that consistency sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, we are with Sam Maggs right now, writer, illustrator.
No, gosh.
Okay.
You don't want to see me draw anything.
Oh, my stick figures are notorious. Creator, and this has been an absolutely amazing conversation so far. I do want to take a quick break, and when we come back, I know we have some more questions for you, Sam. You willing to stick with us for a little longer?
You got it.
Outstanding. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes. We are having a great time chatting with Sam Maggs, and again, thank you again for your time today. We're having a blast with this conversation.
So much fun. No worries.
Now, do we remind? Are you coming to FC3?
No, not yet.
I'm going to, but probably not until post-pandemic. So one day I will be there.
We're hoping the next FC3 is definitely post-pandemic.
Or even further post-pandemic.
Right.
Yes.
So
one day, yes.
So
definitely.
we'd love to have you in
town. I have a family connection to Rochester. Of course, most of you know, but my dad's from Rochester. My grandparents, while they were alive, lived in Rochester. I spent a lot of time growing up in Rochester. I think about Wegmans at least once a week, very fondly. So, So any excuse to come back to Rochester, I'll take it.
Well, we're looking forward to meeting you face to face. That'll definitely be a fun day.
Thank you.
And you have puppy. I heard the word puppy, and that's a very important thing to me.
Yeah, we have a 9-month-old Cavalier King Charles Spaniel named Evie.
Oh my God.
Pokemon, and she is just a terror and
Mm-hmm.
adorable and a nightmare and wonderful all at the same time.
Yes, my
Uh,
the aforementioned Australian Shepherd is 19 months old now, and yes,
oh my
high
gosh,
energy
Australian
is.
Shepherds are all energy all the time. I don't know how you
Mm-hmm.
do it.
My son took her for a 10-mile walk one
Oh my
day.
gosh.
They just went out for the afternoon, and he came back a couple of hours later, and he looked at his step counter, and we did the figuring. 10 miles he covered,
Holy
and
cow.
and she took about a 5-minute nap, and then she bounced right back up and was like ready to go. And I'm like, oh, well, we're in trouble here.
I'm good, ready to go again.
And that's what we were talking. Well, you were checking with what Juno was doing. We were talking about Athena,
Okay,
and Athena is our friend Sean's pit bull.
right.
And Athena and Juno have gone out to the farm together in order to play and things like that. And with Juno and Athena playing, Athena goes home and she's broken for the next 3 days.
Yes.
But as Chris says, Juno takes a 5-minute nap and then she's up and ready to go again.
Yeah.
Athena will run Juno into the ground, but then Juno bounces right back, where Athena is out cold for the day. It's a funny. It's interesting to see how the different breeds, interact and how they expend energy and whatnot. But anyway, let's get back to some more creative stuff. Creative things are fun. And so my first question to start this off with, is there a dream project that you have not gotten a chance to take it up yet, but you would love to be a part of?
Ooh, yeah, I think I would love to write a comic book for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Would be super cool. Because I've written for like their video games and their books at IDW and lots of their licensed properties, but one day I'm hoping to write for like the main line. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll keep working.
Now, we've talked about Carol. We've talked about Captain Marvel. Is there another particular character you would like to write for, or you would, if they gave you a Carol book and said, "Here, Sam, go do what you can with Carol Danvers in all your glory"? But is there another character in particular you'd be
Oh, I
interested
mean,
in?
Carol would be amazing, but there are so many characters at Marvel
Mm-hmm.
that are so great and would be so fun to work with. I love Kitty Pryde.
Mm-hmm.
Big Kitty Pryde fan. I would really love to write Aurora, who is part of Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
Canadian superhero. Obviously would love to do more of that. And she's super cool and also deals with mental health issues. So like still very much my wheelhouse and stuff that I
Oh
find
yeah. No,
interesting.
that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, which would be cool. And I love Gwen Stacy. I'm a big Spider Gwen fan. I was a dancer growing up, so I feel like that could be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love Squirrel Girl, but I don't think like other people are also like Ryan North is amazing at writing Squirrel Girl, so I feel like that would be big shoes to fill. And I don't have his computer science degree, so it might be difficult for me.
That character is so amazing because
So
I remember originally she was basically just a kind of a throwaway funny character to be like in the background, like not even a B-list character. And she has so sprouted into this center of attention, and people are paying attention to Squirrel Girl, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. I love the way the comic universe works sometimes.
Me too. I think Ryan North is a genius, so I'll read anything he does.
Not the first time I've heard that assessment, so
It's
absolutely.
true. Yeah, so gosh, there's just so many characters. I mean, yeah, I feel like I could Dazzler. I would really want to do an update on Dazzler. I think that'd be really fun, especially now that like roller skating has become very cool and popular again with the kids, teens.
Yeah.
Teens love roller skating now, like old school roller skating with like the 4 wheels, not
well, the
rollerblading.
80s themselves, it's that circling around. The 80s vibe is coming back, which is scary for Dan and I because in Tanya, because we were in high school in the 80s, and that was, I don't know if we want to glorify that, but
yeah,
I don't know if you want to glorify
wasn't even thought of yet in the 80s.
What's that?
Sam wasn't even thought of yet in the 80s.
I'm an 80s baby. I'm an 80s. I was around for a couple years there.
89, 88?
88, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the year Dan and I graduated from high school. Sure, okay.
Wow. So you were an 80 baby. You were a 90s child.
100%, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Definitely a 90s kid.
And nothing wrong with that too. I mean, come on, growing up in the era of grunge and Pearl Jam, that's a great thing. That's awesome.
It was pretty great. I missed the like 80s go out and do anything anytime with friends. Like that was sort of over by the 90s, but it was before, like I didn't get my first cell phone until I was graduating high school. Like I was in my last year of high school, I think, when I got my first like Nokia brick phone. So it was still, but I did still have like dial-up and Internet 1.0. So I did still have things like forums and Neopets and stuff like that. So
Did you get
I feel like it was a
Tamagotchis?
good balance. I had Tamagotchis. Oh yeah, actually my mom just sent me like a bag of my old Tamagotchis that she unearthed while like doing some house cleaning, which is fun. I have those. I don't know where I put those, but they're sitting around somewhere. Which is,
My favorite recent
in a
quote
box.
is Fitbits are basically modern Tamagotchis, but the idiot you're trying to keep alive is yourself.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's so true. No wonder I like mine so much.
I you know what? I hope you get your wish to draw directly for Marvel someday, because I would love seeing you in the X-Men. I would
Oh,
love to see you drawing
thanks.
X-Men because of your awareness, of mental health issues, of feminism, of inclusivity. I mean, that's just like a jigsaw puzzle waiting to drop right into the middle of that kind of a puzzle.
That
Oh,
would be
thank
so
you. I have
awesome.
big hopes for something like that.
Well,
So
just
maybe one.
just the character of Rogue herself.
Yeah, Rogue is great. Huge Rogue fan too. Totally.
Yeah, that's my favorite. At least X-Men when we were talking about it. And just her with her whole just so it's
So her powers are great. Her story is so interesting. Like absolutely, absolutely.
Somebody want to write Marvel? I'll buy them all if she writes them.
Perfect. Perfect.
you
Well, we
don't
had-
need much encouragement, Anne.
We had Ken Lashley at the first FC3. If we ever get Ken back in, we're going to put in word for Sam. See if we can get her some work there. That would
Oh,
be
I can tell
fun.
Marvel I'm going to boycott buying until Sam writes. Would that help?
No.
No.
There are too
I
many.
don't know. That's
talented
an awful
people.
big pull list.
I was gonna say you'll be missing out on too much great stuff if you do that.
yeah, I can't do that. Then I'd have to go back and collect it later, and that just gets too expensive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have been chatting with Sam Maggs, and Sam, we're being wary of your personal schedule right now, so I know we're running out of time. So I wanted to say thank you for your time today. I appreciate your time and your work. I have really been enjoying this. And
this is so much fun. It was so great chatting with you guys.
Likewise. I hope to get a chance to do it again soon. I want to actually, if I can, we'll round about and catch up with you towards the end of the year after everything that you were talking about gets released this fall, so we can see how things are going.
I would love that, and I'm really excited to one day be there in person at Flower City. I think that'll be so much fun, and then we can do this all again, but like for realsies.
Like
Absolutely.
IRL, Tanya. IRL.
Absolutely.
I know in real life now. I know. I
And
read
then we have to go to Don and Bob's. That's my only.
Okay.
That's my one request. My celebrity quote unquote request.
Of
You have to
all
take
the
me to Don and Bob's for a burger.
Of all of the celebrity requests that we've been given over the years,
that's an easy one.
That's an
Okay,
easy
great.
one, and we'll be happy to do so. So definitely,
And
we're in
we'll
for
let her
Don and
loose in
Bob's.
Wegmans.
Oh yeah, that is
yeah.
that's a necessity.
It'll be nothing like The Walking Dead. It'll be nothing.
No,
like
it's
letting
nothing
Pasty
like
go.
the two walkers.
It's so funny. I took my husband. We were visiting for a family reunion a couple years ago, and I took my husband. He was his first time in Rochester, and he met the whole family. And we'd been talking up Wegmans for like months, of course. Like,
Right.
it's amazing, like all this stuff. And he was like, "It's a grocery store," and I was like, "We're getting divorced." Like, how dare you?
Say it's just
You
a
don't
grocery store.
understand.
I was going to ask because
Please.
there's several friends of mine that I've made through the internet over the years, and they would come to visit. They come to Rochester to visit, and they've heard about this Wegmans thing, and they're just like, "Come on, let's go see a Wegmans so we can see." So I'll take them to Pittsford, the flagship,
Yes,
and then
that's the one.
and we walk in, and it's usually within about 30 seconds I'm getting in an apology, for their incredulity,
They're like, I didn't know what I was saying.
Right. And the first time we had our friends Michael Koski and Greg French from The Walking Dead in, and we brought them to Wegmans so they could tickle, and we lost them. They just started wandering around aimlessly because they were just taking it all in. It's like, oh my God, this is a real thing. Yeah,
That's
it is.
so great. It's funny, you talk to other people from upstate New York and they like get it. You're like, Weg?
Yes.
They're like, oh man, Weg, I think about it all the time. And you're like, you get it. Yeah.
Mhm.
We have Trader Joe's out here in California, but it's not the same. It's no good compared to that.
Well, Trader Joe's in its own way is not bad, but definitely it's definitely not Wegmans.
Definitely different. Yeah, totally.
Joe
This
versus
was so much
Danny,
fun, guys.
it's no contest.
I know.
Such a blast.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much, Sam. I really appreciate you
Thank you
joining
for your
us.
kindness and for your support of all my work. I can't tell you how much it means to me. And yeah, this was great. I can't wait to talk again soon.
Absolutely.
I've already started the Unstoppable Wasp. I bought it on
Oh,
our break.
oh,
It is
thanks.
so freaking good. I'm telling you, I started it. I bought a copy because I mean I'm giving copies of books away. It seems to like everybody these days, and I bought a copy because I wanted to read it, and I can't put it down. And I feel bad because I've been cooking and baking and doing everything, and I actually burnt pasta because I was like
No.
reading the book.
Reading.
That's like the highest compliment you could give me. So thank you.
All
You are
right.
very welcome. We are so glad that you were able to join us. We finally caught up, and thank you so
Yes.
much for making mental health so important to so many people and writing for the ladies, the girls
yeah.
who really need this.
Mhm.
There are so many here that do.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
They are just as
Anytime. Thank you guys. Well, have a great rest of your podcast.
Thank you. You take care. Have a great day, and thank you again for your time.
You got it.
And we are back, ladies and gents, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes. That was fun.
Really
It
was.
It was fun.
That was a great conversation. What a character she's awesome.
No, and it's funny because when we were doing book club the other day, I'm like, she's got to add the to her Fangirl's Guide to the Galaxy and update it with Pandemic Edition.
Oh, I know.
It's like how to
Fangirl's
survive
Guide to Surviving a Pandemic.
the Pandemic Edition. Which binge worthy Netflix shows
Mm-hmm.
go to which fandoms and that type of stuff. If you like
Mhm.
this, then go this way. But no, I've already started Unstoppable Wasp. I'm 8 pages in.
Okay.
I can't wait for Conquest because it's a book about a con. So I don't know. I love Unstoppable Wasp. Girl Squads. I have to say that's probably like one of my favorites by some of my Girl Scouts because they read it and they see about all these groups of best friends who just by being themselves change the world.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a
That is
really
fantastic.
good book.
Oh, I love having some positivity in my day, especially in recent days. It's been
I know.
slogging tough.
It's been not positive, so this is good that it is positive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's nice to have some positive people in the world that are still out there and still being positive and still putting good things out there. And it's finally nice.
And have you noticed that most of them are Canadian? I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's just the Canadians have the right way of looking at the world right
Maybe
now.
we're just being nicer because we're getting closer to Canada.
I don't know. Well,
There's
and
definitely
it's
a
also,
difference in Canada there, so yeah, and they're doing something right there.
and it's also good that they acknowledge when you do get to that burnout stage that you do take time for yourself to rejuvenate, recharge, things like that, because it works.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been saying that for years to take a mental health day.
Mm-hmm.
I did it for my older son Tyler when he was frustrated with school. I'm like, you decide one day a month, a mental health day, no questions asked type thing because of his anxiety with school and his frustration, things like that. I'm like, I'm a special ed teacher. I work with 3 mental health professionals in my building. We tell the kids it is okay to take a mental health day. If you are struggling or whatever, just let us know that I'm not feeling it today. This is where I'm at, and that you communicate it because of all the mental health disorders that are out there.
Right.
And it's great that Sam was putting it out there, and it just validates it even more, in my opinion, in my book.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many articles about how much stress Americans put on themselves for working more. We don't take vacations as we should. We work more hours than we should. And we need to cut back and for our mental health and just to live life more. I mean,
Well, Dan, wasn't this past week your first vacation in like forever?
pretty much, yeah. So I mean, I'm definitely same problem there. I mean, since this all started in March, that was my first real week off. I
Mhm.
took a couple days off a week before that, but I mean, I worked like 5 months straight, pretty much. So
We convinced my husband to take an actual mental health day. He's worked every day since 2013. Oh, sorry, 2003. He hasn't had a single day off. How do we force him to do that? Because he really could use one.
So
it's
he did work the day of your wedding, right?
He worked a full 14-hour day before we got married.
I mean, it's a lot harder with his because he got the animals to take care of. They have to be taken care of, but
Yeah,
he
they
still
don't.
has to
Animals don't take a sick day.
somehow arrange a day off here and there. There's got to be a way to do that.
I know.
I mean,
I'm trying to figure this out lately too because I see every day he looks more and more burnt out and tired. And you can't say it's because he got married.
Anyway, let's jump into the question of the week.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, Ann, you get to pick this. You get to pick this one today.
Okay. 16.
Ooh, a load number. Okay. 16.
I really hope it doesn't spark a political debate.
I don't think so. If you were a candy bar, which candy bar would you be?
Jesus.
Oh God.
We have all kinds of questions in here, I tell you.
Oh my word.
Damn.
Who made this list?
I pulled it from various sources, so there's many different sources, so there's many different types of questions on this.
Wow.
So if you were a candy bar, which candy bar would you be? That's a tough one.
Oh man.
I think I know.
Go ahead.
I think I would be a Kinder.
Ah!
One of those Kinder Joy things?
No, not the Kinder Joy. They actually make a Kinder bar. It's so
Yes.
it's light, it's airy, it's crispy, and they're from Canada, so they're nice. and there's 2 in a package, so you can share one if you want, or you can save one for later.
How about you, Tanya? You got any ideas?
Oh my God. Well, my first thing was 100 grand bar.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm kind of high maintenance at times.
Never noticed.
I don't know. It includes chocolate caramel and crisped rice. So it's the like the gooey softness, but yet just enough of a crisp sass type thing.
Mm-hmm.
With the nice, delicious chocolate. So
I see.
I think, yeah. So 100 grand bar. It was either that or Milky Way, because I'm out of this world.
Daniel-san.
I was going to say Snickers just because I've got nuts in it, and then we are kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But then you got packed with peanuts. I'm kind of satisfying, I guess. But
I am so not touching that one. I'm not touching that one.
Damn. Hey.
I was actually gonna pick Almond Joy because Almond Joy's got nuts, and I am nuts, but also Almond Joy has coconut, and not everybody likes coconut, and not everybody likes me. So
there you go.
I'm not a big coconut fan myself, right?
No,
so
I'm not either.
You either love me or you don't love me, and I'm pretty sure there's a wide range of people out there who can fit both of those categories.
Well, I'll let you know, Almond Joy, the only people in this house that eat Almond Joy are Nene and my parents, and I think Randy, because I can't stand almonds nor coconut. But
well, yeah, like I said, it's not my favorite. My all-time personal favorite is Snickers, right?
Peanut butter cups, right?
Reese's peanut butter cups, right? Those are things, you know.
Who puts Reese's peanut butter cups inside s'mores? This is the new thing we've discovered at our house this summer. Instead of using a Hershey bar, you use a Reese's.
I've heard that.
I've done it, and it's. Let me tell you, it's amazing. I'm not a diabetic. Is all I'm going to say. It really is. I saw a recipe the other day where somebody took a marshmallow, dipped it in melted butter and cinnamon sugar, and then wrapped it in a croissant roll from Pillsbury, and then baked it.
Hocus pocus.
Yes, and I'm like, I want to try that now.
Wow.
I want to try that right now.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook that because the marshmallow disappears inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gives you a little sweet goodness.
Holy Christmas is all I got to say about that idea.
Well, maybe.
Well, Anne, it was fun having you on board with us this week. That was fun.
Well, thank you for
You're always
inviting me.
welcome, you know. You got to join us again sometime.
Can I bring more author friends?
That'd be great. You can make a whole series out of that. That's awesome.
I got a lot of friends, authors that are authors. So.
They all have to be as cool as Sam, though.
Oh, I don't know if I can get as cool as Sam. And you know, she's actually a really cool person, and I wish I could claim her as my family, but I'm now divorced from.
Well, you can say you got her in the divorce.
You get to claim her.
Yes, I do.
Because I can't look at your ex-husband and think that he's actually related to Sam. Right? It doesn't.
They're actually first cousins.
It doesn't fit in my book. It doesn't work.
She's so unbelievably cool. I'm so glad we got to interview her. I hope we do get to her at FC3 one day. But until then, we can always, invite her back when more books come out. When Conquest comes out and the next Fangirl's Guide to the Universe. I mean, it'll be so much fun to read those.
Absolutely.
Follow
we have
her
to do
on
them
Twitter.
in book clubs. Yes, she's so funny on Twitter.
I saw a picture of her puppy.
Yeah.
A King Charles Spaniel is definitely that. Mm-hmm. That is a wild pup for the first couple of years. He'll settle down eventually. But the first couple of years with any of the Spaniels is always trying at best. Mm-hmm. All right, my friends, that's a wrapperoo for the week. That's a good one. So, hey, Dan.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Chris.
Hit it. Because this has been FC3's Monkey Business, a product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con, coming at you April 24th and 25th of 2021 at the Total Sports Experience in Gates. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us wherever we go, and we will lead you to where the entertainment is. You guys have a great week, have a safe week, and we will talk to you again next week.
Done.